Picture this: a young man standing on the 36th floor of a gleaming Manhattan skyscraper, his eyes scanning the bustling city below like a chess master contemplating his next move. The year is 1976, and 29-year-old Donald Trump is about to make a decision that will either catapult him into the realm of legendary real estate moguls or destroy everything his father built. In his hand, he clutches a worn copy of a book that has been his constant companion since college, Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. What happens when the practical mind of a billionaire meets the eternal philosophy of the man who taught the world how to create wealth with the power of thought? This is not just another success story. This is the unveiling of a mindset that transformed a real estate developer from Queens into one of the most recognizable figures on the planet, eventually leading him to the highest office in the land. But before we dive deep into this extraordinary journey, I need you to do something that will change your life forever. Hit that subscribe button right now, ring the notification bell, and promise me you'll stay until the very end. Because what you're about to discover are practical secrets that Napoleon Hill identified nearly a century ago, secrets that Trump has lived by, and secrets that could completely transform your own relationship with success and wealth. Napoleon Hill wasn't just any author. He was a man on a mission, commissioned by the steel magnate Andrew Carnegie to unlock the formula of success by studying the minds of America's wealthiest individuals. For 20 years, Hill interviewed over 500 millionaires, including Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, and John D. Rockefeller. What emerged from this monumental research was not just a book, but a blueprint for transforming human consciousness itself. Think and Grow Rich became more than literature. It became a movement that would influence generations of entrepreneurs, business leaders, and dreamers around the world. Donald Trump represents the living embodiment of Hill's principles in action. Where others saw obstacles, Trump saw opportunities. Where others feared failure, Trump embraced calculated risks. Where others settled for mediocrity, Trump demanded excellence. This is the story of how ancient wisdom meets modern ambition, how timeless principles create contemporary empires, and how the mind of one man became the laboratory for proving that success is not an accident. It is a science. Chapter 1. The Burning Desire. The fire that ignites empires. Napoleon Hill declared that all achievement begins with a burning desire, a consuming passion that refuses to accept defeat. He wrote, "Wishing will not bring riches, but desiring riches with a state of mind that becomes an obsession, then planning definite ways and means to acquire riches, and backing those plans with persistence which does not recognize failure, will bring riches." In the heart of a young Donald Trump, this burning desire wasn't just a flame, it was a raging inferno. The story begins in the modest neighborhood of Queens, where Fred Trump had built a respectable real estate business focused on middle-class housing. But for his son Donald, Queens felt like a cage. Every morning as he looked across the East River toward the glittering spires of Manhattan, that burning desire Hill spoke of grew stronger. It wasn't enough to be successful in Queens. It wasn't enough to follow in his father's footsteps. Trump's desire was to conquer Manhattan itself, to leave a mark so bold and unmistakable that the entire world would know his name. Hill emphasized that this desire must be specific, definite, and backed by a plan. Trump didn't just want to be rich. He wanted to own the most prestigious properties in the most prestigious city in the world. He wanted his name emblazoned across the Manhattan skyline in gold letters. He wanted to build not just buildings, but monuments to possibility itself. This wasn't mere ambition. It was what Hill called definite major purpose, the kind of all-consuming goal that transforms an ordinary person into an unstoppable force of nature. When Trump made his first move into Manhattan real estate with the Commodore Hotel project, people thought he was insane. Here was a young man in his 20s, with limited experience outside of Queens, attempting to negotiate with the most powerful real estate players in New York City. But Hill had taught that burning desire creates its own reality. "The starting point of all achievement is desire," Hill wrote, and Trump's desire was so intense it seemed to bend reality to his will. The obstacles were enormous. The Commodore Hotel was a decaying relic in a neighborhood that seemed beyond salvation. The city was on the brink of bankruptcy. Established developers wouldn't touch the project. But Trump saw what others couldn't see because his burning desire had sharpened his vision. Where others saw decay, he envisioned luxury. Where others saw risk, he saw opportunity. Where others saw impossibility, he saw inevitability. Hill understood that burning desire must be fed constantly, like a fire that requires continuous fuel. Trump's fuel was his vision of greatness, his refusal to accept limitations, and his absolute certainty that success was not just possible, but inevitable. Every rejection became motivation. Every setback became a setup for a comeback. Every closed door became a challenge to find a window, or better yet, to build his own entrance. The transformation of the Commodore Hotel into the Grand Hyatt was more than a real estate deal. It was the physical manifestation of Hill's philosophy in action. Trump didn't just renovate a building, he renovated reality itself. He took a symbol of urban decay and transformed it into a beacon of possibility. This wasn't luck or inheritance or connections, though all played their part. This was the power of burning desire, channeled through strategic action, exactly as Napoleon Hill had prescribed. But the most remarkable aspect of Trump's burning desire wasn't its intensity, it was its evolution. Success didn't satisfy him, it only increased his appetite. Each victory became the foundation for a larger vision. The Grand Hyatt led to Trump Tower. Trump Tower led to casinos in Atlantic City. The casinos led to a global brand that would eventually encompass everything from reality television to the presidency of the United States. Hill had warned that desire without action is merely wishing, but desire backed by relentless action becomes an unstoppable force of creation. As we watch Trump's journey unfold, we see Hill's principles playing out in real time. The burning desire that began in Queens didn't diminish with success. It intensified. It became a living thing that demanded constant feeding, constant growth, constant expansion. This is what Hill meant when he wrote about the difference between those who succeed and those who merely survive. Survivors have wishes. Achievers have burning desires that consume their entire being and transform their entire reality. Chapter 2. Faith and Self-Confidence, the Unshakable Foundation. Napoleon Hill understood that faith is not merely a religious concept. It is the bridge between desire and achievement, the invisible force that transforms dreams into reality. He wrote, "Faith is a state of mind which may be induced by affirmation or repeated instructions to the subconscious mind." In Donald Trump's life, this faith manifested as an unshakable confidence that bordered on the supernatural, a belief in his own capabilities so absolute that it seemed to convince the universe itself to bend to his will. Picture a scene from 1978, a young Trump walking into a boardroom filled with seasoned real estate veterans, men who had been making deals since before he was born. He carries himself with the bearing of someone who has already conquered worlds, though his biggest success at that point was still in progress. This wasn't arrogance, this was what Hill called applied faith, the practical application of absolute belief in one's ability to achieve predetermined outcomes. Hill taught that faith could be developed through repetition and visualization. Trump seemed to understand this instinctively. Long before "fake it till you make it" became a popular phrase, Trump was living this principle at the highest level. He didn't just believe he would succeed, he believed he had already succeeded. His confidence wasn't based on past achievements, it was based on future certainties that existed only in his mind, but felt as real as the ground beneath his feet. The power of this faith became evident in every negotiation Trump entered. When others saw his youth and relative inexperience as weaknesses, Trump's absolute confidence transformed these apparent disadvantages into strengths. His faith in his own abilities was so complete that it infected everyone around him. Banks that should have said no said yes. Partners who should have demanded more accepted less. Contractors who should have required guarantees worked on promises. Hill wrote extensively about the contagious nature of faith. "Faith is the head chemist of the mind," he declared. "When faith is mixed with the vibration of thought, the subconscious mind instantly picks up the vibration, translates it into its spiritual equivalent, and transmits it to infinite intelligence." In practical terms, This meant that Trump's unshakable confidence created a field of possibility around him that others could feel and respond to, even when logic suggested they should be more cautious. Consider Trump's approach to the media throughout his career. Where most businessmen sought to avoid attention or carefully manage their public image, Trump courted publicity with the confidence of someone who knew that all attention, positive or negative, could be transformed into advantage. This wasn't recklessness, this was faith in action. He believed so completely in his ability to control narratives and turn situations to his benefit that he actively sought out challenges that would have terrified his competitors. Hill emphasized that faith must be backed by action to be effective. Trump's faith wasn't passive. It was dynamic, aggressive, and constantly seeking new expressions. When he decided to build Trump Tower, he didn't just believe it would be successful, he believed it would redefine luxury living in Manhattan. His faith wasn't limited to completing the project. It extended to creating a new standard of excellence that others would spend decades trying to match. The relationship between Hill's concept of faith and Trump's self-confidence becomes even more fascinating when we examine how Trump handled setbacks. When his Atlantic City casinos faced financial difficulties in the early 1990s, when his marriage dissolved in public view, when critics questioned his business acumen, his faith never wavered. He didn't just believe he would recover, he believed he would emerge stronger than before. This unshakable faith created what psychologists now call a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because Trump expected success with such certainty, he unconsciously organized his thoughts, decisions, and actions in ways that made success more likely. His faith didn't just inspire him, it inspired his team, his partners, and even his competitors to see him as someone destined for greatness. Hill warned that faith without works is dead, but faith backed by intelligent action becomes virtually unstoppable. Trump's career demonstrates this principle repeatedly. His faith wasn't blind, it was strategic. He believed completely in his ability to succeed, but he also surrounded himself with experts, studied his markets obsessively, and prepared for every contingency he could imagine. The most remarkable aspect of Trump's faith-based approach was its evolution over time. As his successes mounted, his faith didn't become complacent. It became more ambitious. Each achievement became evidence that even greater achievements were possible. His faith grew with his success, creating an upward spiral of confidence and accomplishment that seemed to have no ceiling. When Trump announced his candidacy for President of the United States, many dismissed it as a publicity stunt. But those who understood Hill's principles recognized something different. They saw a man whose faith in his own abilities had been tested and proven in multiple arenas, someone who had spent decades developing the mental muscles necessary to achieve what others considered impossible. His faith wasn't based on political experience. It was based on a lifetime of turning impossible dreams into inevitable realities. Chapter 3: Autosuggestion and the Power of Words. Programming Success. Napoleon Hill discovered that the human mind is essentially a broadcasting and receiving station for thought vibrations, and that we can consciously direct these vibrations through the principle of autosuggestion. Autosuggestion is the agency of communication between that part of the mind where conscious thought takes place and that which serves as the seat of action for the subconscious mind, he wrote. In Donald Trump's life, this principle manifested as a masterful understanding of the power of words, not just in communication with others, but in programming his own mind for inevitable success. Long before Trump became famous for his slogans and catchphrases, he was using the power of autosuggestion to shape his reality. Hill taught that we become what we think about most of the time, and Trump's internal dialogue was a constant stream of positive affirmations about his abilities, his destiny, and his inevitable success. This wasn't positive thinking in the superficial sense. This was strategic mental programming designed to create unshakable belief systems that would support massive achievement. Consider Trump's approach to branding, which began not with products or buildings, but with himself. He understood intuitively what Hill had discovered through decades of research, that repetition is the mother of learning, and that repeated exposure to positive suggestions about oneself eventually becomes accepted by the subconscious mind as fact. Trump didn't just use his name on buildings, he programmed his own mind and the minds of others to associate that name with excellence, luxury, and success. Hill wrote extensively about the importance of written statements of purpose, goals that are reviewed daily, and impressed upon the subconscious mind through repetition. While we don't have access to Trump's private journals, his public statements throughout his career reveal a man who understood the power of declarative language. He didn't say he hoped to build great buildings. He declared that he built the greatest buildings. He didn't aspire to make great deals. He proclaimed himself the master of the art of the deal. The power of Trump's auto-suggestion became evident in how he handled negotiations. Hill taught that the subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between constructive and destructive thought impulses, but responds to whatever impulses are most frequently impressed upon it. Trump consistently fed his mind with suggestions of victory, success, and inevitability. By the time he entered actual negotiations, his subconscious mind had already accepted his success as a foregone conclusion. This mental programming had a remarkable effect on others. Hill understood that thoughts have a way of transmitting themselves from one mind to another, especially when they are charged with strong emotion. Trump's absolute certainty about his own success created an aura of inevitability that others could feel. His autosuggestion didn't just convince him, it convinced banks to lend him money, contractors to work for him, and customers to pay premium prices for his products. The evolution of Trump's public persona reveals the sophisticated application of autosuggestion principles. Every interview, every press conference, every public appearance was an opportunity to reinforce the suggestions he wanted to implant in his own mind and the minds of others. He consistently described himself as the best at whatever he was doing, not out of ego, but as a deliberate strategy to program both his conscious and subconscious mind for exceptional performance. Hill warned that negative autosuggestion is just as powerful as positive autosuggestion, but works in the opposite direction. Throughout his career, Trump demonstrated an almost supernatural ability to deflect negative suggestions and transform them into fuel for positive programming. When critics called him egotistical, he reframed it as confidence. When they called him aggressive, he repositioned it as determination. When they questioned his methods, he pointed to his results. The power of Trump's autosuggestion became most evident during times of crisis. When his business empire faced serious challenges in the early 1990s, when bankruptcy loomed and critics wrote his obituary, his internal programming kicked into overdrive. Instead of accepting defeat, he increased the frequency and intensity of his positive self-suggestions. He didn't just believe he would recover, he programmed his mind to expect an even more spectacular comeback. Hill taught that autosuggestion works best when combined with emotional intensity. Trump's self-programming was never emotionally neutral. It was charged with passion, conviction, and absolute certainty. He didn't casually suggest to himself that he might succeed. He declared with overwhelming emotional intensity that his success was guaranteed by forces larger than any obstacle he might face. The culmination of Trump's mastery of autosuggestion became evident in his presidential campaign. Where others saw an impossible dream, his programming had prepared him to see inevitable destiny. His slogan, "Make America Great Again," wasn't just a campaign message. It was a powerful autosuggestion, repeated millions of times by millions of people, creating a collective belief system that transformed political reality. Hill discovered that successful people develop the habit of feeding their minds with positive, success-oriented thoughts, while unsuccessful people allow their minds to dwell on negative, failure-oriented thoughts. Trump's career demonstrates the practical application of this principle at the highest level. His consistent use of auto-suggestion didn't just create success. It created a success consciousness that operated independently of external circumstances. The most remarkable aspect of Trump's application of autosuggestion was its consistency over decades. From his first major real estate deal to his election as President of the United States, his internal programming remained focused on excellence, victory, and inevitable success. This wasn't a technique he used occasionally. It was a way of life that shaped every thought, every decision, and every action. Chapter 4. Specialized Knowledge. The currency of power. Napoleon Hill made a distinction that revolutionized how successful people think about education and expertise. "Knowledge is only potential power," he wrote. "It becomes power only when and if it is organized into definite plans of action and directed to a definite end." Hill understood that general knowledge, no matter how extensive, is far less valuable than specialized knowledge applied with precision and purpose. Donald Trump's career provides a masterclass in how to identify, acquire, and leverage specialized knowledge to create extraordinary results. In the early 1970s, when Trump was preparing to make his move from Queens to Manhattan, he faced a challenge that would have stopped most people in their tracks. He needed to understand not just real estate, but Manhattan real estate. Not just construction, but luxury construction. Not just financing, but creative financing structures that could turn impossible deals into profitable realities. Hill had taught that specialized knowledge must be acquired either through personal experience or through the experience of others, and Trump chose both paths simultaneously. Trump's approach to acquiring specialized knowledge was systematic and relentless. He didn't try to become an expert in everything. Instead, he focused laser-like attention on the specific knowledge that would give him the greatest advantage in his chosen field. He studied successful Manhattan developers not casually, but obsessively. He analyzed their deals, their methods, their mistakes, and their victories. He understood that in the knowledge economy, information is the ultimate competitive advantage. But Hill had warned against the trap of believing that knowledge alone creates success. Trump never fell into this trap. Every piece of specialized knowledge he acquired was immediately tested against real-world challenges. When he learned about tax abatements, he didn't just understand the theory, he structured deals that maximized these advantages. When he discovered new financing mechanisms, he didn't just study them. He implemented them in ways that gave him access to capital his competitors couldn't obtain. The power of Trump's specialized knowledge became evident in his approach to what others considered impossible deals. When established developers looked at the Commodore Hotel and saw only problems, Trump's specialized knowledge allowed him to see solutions. He understood not just the real estate market, but the political dynamics that could make or break development projects. He knew not just construction costs, but psychological factors that would make buyers pay premium prices. Hill emphasized that specialized knowledge must be continuously updated and expanded. Trump demonstrated this principle throughout his career by constantly evolving his expertise. When he moved from residential development to commercial real estate, he acquired specialized knowledge about office markets and corporate needs. When he entered the casino business, he studied gambling psychology and entertainment industry dynamics. When he launched into reality television, he learned about audience engagement and media production. One of the most fascinating aspects of Trump's approach to specialized knowledge was his understanding of what Hill called the power of organized knowledge. Trump never tried to know everything himself. Instead, he became a master at organizing the specialized knowledge of others. He surrounded himself with experts who knew more than he did about specific subjects, but he retained the ability to coordinate their expertise toward common objectives. This approach became evident in how Trump assembled teams for major projects. For Trump Tower, he didn't just hire any architect, he selected Der Scott, a firm known specifically for luxury residential design. He didn't choose any general contractor. He found Barbara Rez, who would become one of the first women to oversee a major Manhattan construction project. His specialized knowledge wasn't just about real estate. It was about identifying and organizing other people's specialized knowledge. Hill taught that specialized knowledge, properly organized and intelligently directed, becomes power. Trump's career demonstrates this principle repeatedly. His knowledge of media dynamics allowed him to generate billions of dollars worth of free publicity throughout his career. His understanding of branding enabled him to license his name for premium fees around the world. His grasp of political psychology eventually carried him to the presidency despite having no previous political experience. The evolution of Trump's specialized knowledge reveals another Hill principle: that knowledge must be applied to be valuable. Trump never acquired knowledge for its own sake. Every piece of information had to serve a strategic purpose. When he studied successful entrepreneurs, He wasn't interested in their life stories. He focused on the specific strategies and tactics that created their success. When he analyzed failed projects, he extracted lessons that could be applied to prevent similar failures in his own ventures. Trump's approach to specialized knowledge also demonstrated Hill's teaching about the importance of speed in acquiring and applying new information. When Trump decided to enter the casino business, he didn't spend years studying the industry. He immersed himself completely, acquired the essential specialized knowledge as quickly as possible, and began implementing what he learned while his competitors were still analyzing the market. The most remarkable aspect of Trump's relationship with specialized knowledge was his ability to transfer expertise from one field to another. The negotiation skills he developed in real estate served him well in television production. The marketing insights he gained from branding luxury properties proved invaluable when he entered politics. The project management expertise he developed in construction translated directly to managing complex political campaigns. Hill understood that in the modern economy, success belongs to those who can most effectively acquire, organize, and apply specialized knowledge. Trump's career provides a blueprint for how this principle works in practice. His success wasn't based on being the smartest person in any room. It was based on being the person who could most effectively coordinate specialized knowledge towards specific objectives, turning information into power and power into extraordinary results. Chapter 5. Creative Imagination, Visioning the Impossible. Napoleon Hill identified two forms of imagination that separate achievers from dreamers: synthetic imagination, which rearranges existing ideas into new combinations, and creative imagination, which creates something from nothing through direct connection with infinite intelligence. Imagination is the workshop of the mind, Hill wrote, where all plans are fashioned. In Donald Trump's extraordinary career, we witness both forms of imagination working in harmony to transform impossible visions into concrete realities that redefined entire industries. The power of Trump's creative imagination first manifested when he envisioned transforming a decaying section of Manhattan into a luxury destination. This wasn't synthetic imagination, rearranging existing successful models. This was creative imagination at its purest, seeing possibilities where others saw only problems. When Trump looked at the abandoned Commodore Hotel, he didn't see renovation, he saw resurrection. He didn't see improvement, he saw transformation. He didn't see a better hotel, he saw a symbol of New York's comeback. Hill taught that creative imagination is most active when the mind is stimulated by one or more of the 10 mind stimulants he identified, including the desire for fame, power, and creative expression. Trump's imagination seemed to operate in a state of constant stimulation. His desire for recognition, his hunger for achievement, and his drive to create lasting monuments combined to produce a level of creative visualization that bordered on the prophetic. Consider the conceptualization of Trump Tower. This wasn't merely a luxury residential building, it was a complete reimagining of how wealthy people could live in Manhattan. Trump's imagination didn't just envision a tall building with expensive apartments. He saw a vertical city where residents could live, shop, and socialize without ever leaving the building. He imagined retail spaces that would become destinations in themselves, creating a synergy between commerce and residents that hadn't existed before. The power of Trump's creative imagination extended beyond architecture to the creation of entirely new business models. When he branded his first casino as Trump Taj Mahal, he wasn't just building another gambling establishment, he was imagining a new category of entertainment experience. His creative visualization combined elements of Las Vegas spectacle with Atlantic City accessibility, creating something that had never existed before in the gaming industry. Hill emphasized that imagination must be fed continuously with new impressions and experiences to remain fertile. Trump demonstrated this principle by constantly exposing himself to new ideas, traveling extensively, and studying successful enterprises in completely different industries. His imagination wasn't limited by the boundaries of real estate. He drew inspiration from entertainment, hospitality, sports, and eventually politics, synthesizing insights from diverse fields into revolutionary applications. The evolution of the Trump brand reveals creative imagination, operating at multiple levels simultaneously. Trump didn't just imagine successful buildings, he envisioned a lifestyle brand that could be applied to everything from steaks to universities to airlines. This wasn't random diversification. It was the systematic application of creative imagination to transform a name into a symbol of aspiration and success. Hill taught that creative imagination works best when combined with definiteness of purpose. Trump's imaginative capacity was never undirected. It was focused like a laser on specific objectives. When he imagined Trump Tower, every detail was precisely visualized. The pink marble, the brass fixtures, the configuration of retail spaces, even the psychological impact on visitors entering the lobby. His imagination wasn't vague. It was architecturally specific and emotionally compelling. The most remarkable demonstration of Trump's creative imagination came when he envisioned himself as President of the United States. This wasn't synthetic imagination based on existing models of how businessmen enter politics. This was pure creative imagination, seeing a possibility that didn't exist in any previous example. His visualization wasn't based on political experience or conventional qualifications. It was based on an imaginative leap that saw leadership as a transferable skill set. Hill understood that imagination, to be effective, must be combined with practical knowledge and strategic planning. Trump's imaginative visions were never disconnected from reality. They were grounded in deep understanding of markets, customer psychology, and operational requirements. His imagination provided the vision, but specialized knowledge provided the roadmap for making visions real. The power of Trump's imagination also extended to his ability to help others visualize possibilities they couldn't see for themselves. When he pitched projects to investors, he wasn't just presenting business plans. He was sharing his imaginative vision in ways that allowed others to experience the future he could see. His imagination became contagious, inspiring partners, contractors, and customers to participate in bringing unprecedented realities into existence. Trump's approach to creative imagination reveals another Hill principle, that imagination must be exercised regularly to remain strong. Throughout his career, Trump continuously pushed the boundaries of what he thought possible, never allowing his imagination to become comfortable or conventional. Each successful project became the foundation for imagining even more ambitious possibilities, creating an upward spiral of increasingly bold visions. Hill warned that imagination without action remains merely daydreaming. Trump's career demonstrates the opposite. Imagination immediately translated into concrete plans and persistent action. His creative visualizations weren't escapes from reality. They were blueprints for reconstructing reality according to his specifications. Every impossible dream became a definite plan, backed by relentless execution. The ultimate test of Trump's creative imagination came during his presidential campaign, when he had to imagine not just victory, but a completely new model of political leadership. His vision wasn't based on conventional political wisdom. It was based on creative imagination, applied to the challenge of connecting with voters who felt disconnected from traditional political establishment. His imagination saw possibilities that professional politicians couldn't perceive, ultimately reshaping American politics in ways that are still being understood. Chapter 6. Organized Planning, the Architecture of Achievement. Napoleon Hill discovered that all successful achievements are the result of organized planning, and that temporary defeat is not permanent failure. "You are engaged in an undertaking of major importance to you," Hill wrote. "To be sure of success, you must have plans which are faultless." Throughout Trump's career, we see the systematic application of this principle, combined with the flexibility to adapt plans when circumstances change and the wisdom to learn from every setback. Trump's approach to organized planning became evident from his very first major project. The renovation of the Commodore Hotel wasn't approached haphazardly. It was the result of meticulous planning that considered every possible variable. Trump didn't just plan the construction. He planned the financing, the marketing, the political approvals, and even the psychological impact on potential guests. His plans were comprehensive, detailed, and designed to account for multiple scenarios. Hill taught that planning must be based on collaboration with others whose experience and knowledge complement one's own. Trump's planning process always involved assembling what Hill called a mastermind alliance, a group of individuals with specialized knowledge and complementary skills. For the Commodore project, his mastermind included architects, financial experts, political insiders, and construction specialists, each contributing essential elements to the overall plan. The power of Trump's organized planning became evident when the inevitable obstacles arose. Hill had warned that temporary defeat is not permanent failure, and that successful people distinguish themselves by their response to setbacks. When Trump's initial financing fell through, when political approvals were delayed, when construction costs exceeded projections, his organized planning revealed its true strength: flexibility combined with persistence. Trump's plans were never rigid. They were dynamic frameworks that could adapt to changing circumstances while maintaining focus on ultimate objectives. When one financing approach failed, alternative funding strategies were already being considered. When regulatory challenges emerged, backup approval processes were already in motion. His organized planning didn't just anticipate success, it prepared for every foreseeable obstacle and many that others couldn't imagine. Hill emphasized that organized planning must be continuous, that plans should be reviewed regularly and revised as needed. Trump's career demonstrates this principle repeatedly. His plans for Trump Tower evolved throughout the development process as market conditions changed. Construction challenges emerged and new opportunities appeared, but the core vision remained constant while tactical approaches remained flexible. The sophistication of Trump's planning became most evident when he expanded into new industries. His entry into the casino business wasn't impulsive. It was the result of extensive planning that analyzed market conditions, regulatory requirements, competitive dynamics, and operational necessities. His plans considered not just how to build casinos, but how to differentiate them, market them, and operate them profitably in an increasingly competitive environment. Trump's approach to organized planning also revealed Hill's teaching about the importance of written plans. While we don't have access to Trump's private planning documents, his public statements and actions reveal someone who thought systematically about objectives, strategies, tactics, and contingencies. His plans weren't vague intentions, they were specific roadmaps with measurable milestones and definite timelines. The evolution of Trump's planning capabilities shows how this skill can be developed and refined over time. His early projects involved relatively straightforward planning challenges: acquiring property, securing financing, managing construction. But as his ambitions expanded, so did the complexity of his planning requirements. Developing multiple properties simultaneously, managing diverse business interests, and maintaining a public profile required increasingly sophisticated organizational systems. Hill taught that successful planning must consider both offensive and defensive strategies. Trump's career demonstrates mastery of both approaches. His offensive planning focused on identifying and exploiting opportunities before competitors recognized them. His defensive planning anticipated potential threats and prepared responses that would protect his interests and reputation. This dual approach allowed him to be simultaneously aggressive in pursuing opportunities and conservative in protecting achievements. The most remarkable example of Trump's organized planning came during his presidential campaign. Running for president without previous political experience required a completely new type of planning framework. Trump's team had to plan not just campaign strategy, but how to adapt business leadership skills to political requirements. They planned not just how to win primary elections, but how to build a coalition capable of winning a general election against an experienced political opponent. Trump's campaign planning revealed another Hill principle: that plans must be based on accurate information about current conditions. His team's planning process included extensive research into voter attitudes, media dynamics, and electoral requirements. But their planning also incorporated Trump's unique strengths: his media expertise, his business credibility, and his outsider status, in ways that conventional political planning might have overlooked. Hill warned that planning without action is worthless, but he also emphasized that action without planning is dangerous. Trump's career demonstrates the optimal balance between these extremes. His plans were detailed enough to provide clear direction, but flexible enough to allow for adaptation as circumstances changed. His planning process was thorough enough to minimize unnecessary risks, but not so elaborate that it prevented rapid response to emerging opportunities. The ultimate test of Trump's organized planning came when he had to transition from candidate to president, requiring plans for assembling a government, developing policy priorities, and managing the most complex organization in the world. This transition revealed planning capabilities that had been developed over decades of managing increasingly complex business enterprises, proving Hill's teaching that planning skills, once developed, can be applied to any type of challenge. Chapter 7. Quick Decisions and Persistence. The Twin Engines of Success. Napoleon Hill discovered through his research that successful people make decisions quickly and change them slowly, while unsuccessful people make decisions slowly and change them often. The world has the habit of making room for the man whose words and actions show that he knows where he is going, Hill wrote. In Donald Trump's career, we see this principle manifested as a remarkable ability to make crucial decisions with lightning speed, then persist in implementing those decisions despite obstacles that would deter most people. The power of Trump's quick decision-making first became evident when he decided to pursue the Commodore Hotel project. While other developers were still analyzing the opportunity, still forming committees, still requesting additional studies, Trump had already made his decision and was implementing his plan. Hill understood that opportunities are often time-sensitive and that hesitation can be more dangerous than making an imperfect decision quickly and adjusting course as needed. Trump's decision-making speed wasn't recklessness. It was the result of preparation meeting opportunity. Hill taught that quick decisions are possible when one has a definite purpose and sufficient knowledge to evaluate opportunities rapidly. Trump had spent years preparing for his move into Manhattan real estate. When the right opportunity appeared, he could make an instant decision because the groundwork had already been laid. But Hill also understood that quick decisions must be coupled with persistence to be effective. Persistence is to the character of man as carbon is to steel, he wrote. Trump's career provides countless examples of this principle in action. When others would have given up, Trump persisted. When obstacles seemed insurmountable, Trump found ways around them. When critics declared his projects impossible, Trump proved them wrong through sheer persistence. The relationship between quick decisions and persistence becomes fascinating when we examine how Trump handled the inevitable setbacks that accompany ambitious undertakings. When construction problems delayed Trump Tower, when financing challenges threatened his casino projects, when media criticism intensified, his response was never to second-guess his initial decisions. It was to persist with even greater determination while making tactical adjustments as needed. Hill identified several factors that undermine persistence, including lack of definite purpose, procrastination, and negative influences from others. Trump's career demonstrates how to overcome each of these obstacles. His definite purpose was so clear and compelling that temporary setbacks couldn't shake his resolve. His decision-making speed eliminated procrastination as an option. His self-confidence was so strong that negative influences from others actually strengthened his determination to prove them wrong. Trump's approach to decision-making reveals another Hill principle, that successful people gather facts quickly and then trust their judgment. Trump never suffered from analysis paralysis. He gathered sufficient information to make informed decisions, but he didn't wait for perfect information, because he understood that perfect information rarely exists and that opportunities don't wait for thorough analysis. The evolution of Trump's decision-making style shows how this skill can be refined over time. His early decisions were based primarily on real estate market knowledge and financial analysis. But as his experience expanded, his decision-making framework incorporated lessons from multiple industries, insights from diverse advisors, and intuitive understanding of market psychology that could only come from years of successful pattern recognition. Trump's persistence wasn't blind stubbornness, it was intelligent persistence, based on continuous evaluation of progress toward defined objectives. Hill taught that persistence must be backed by willpower and definite plans. Trump's persistence always included flexibility in methods combined with unwavering commitment to ultimate goals. When original plans encountered obstacles, he found alternative approaches while never losing sight of his ultimate vision. The most dramatic example of Trump's quick decision-making, coupled with persistence, came during his financial challenges in the early 1990s. When his business empire faced potential collapse, he could have made the slow decision to gradually liquidate assets and retreat to safer ground. Instead, he made the quick decision to fight for every property, every project, and every deal. His persistence during this period wasn't just about saving his business. It was about proving that temporary setbacks couldn't defeat someone with unshakable determination. Hill wrote extensively about the psychological factors that support persistence, including definiteness of purpose, self-reliance, and habit of learning from defeat. Trump's response to his 1990s challenges demonstrates all these factors in action. His purpose remained definite: to rebuild his empire stronger than before. His self-reliance never wavered. He took personal responsibility for both the problems and the solutions. His learning from defeat was evident in how he restructured his business practices to prevent similar vulnerabilities in the future. The power of Trump's quick decisions became legendary in business circles. Partners and competitors learned that when Trump made a decision, implementation began immediately. This created a competitive advantage because speed of execution often matters more than perfection of planning. While others were still deliberating, Trump was already capturing market share, signing contracts, and building momentum. Trump's persistence also manifested in his approach to setbacks and criticism. Hill taught that criticism, whether constructive or destructive, provides valuable feedback for those wise enough to use it. Throughout his career, Trump faced constant criticism from media, competitors, and skeptics. His response was never to retreat or modify his goals. It was to persist with even greater determination while using criticism as fuel for proving doubters wrong. The culmination of Trump's mastery of quick decisions and persistence came during his presidential campaign. The decision to run was made quickly, despite advice from many who suggested he wasn't ready or that the timing wasn't right. But once the decision was made, his persistence was absolute. Through primary defeats, general election challenges, and predictions of certain failure, he never wavered in his commitment to victory. Hill understood that persistence is often the deciding factor between success and failure, especially when facing challenges that would defeat ordinary levels of determination. Trump's entire career provides a masterclass in how quick, decisive action, combined with relentless persistence, can overcome obstacles that seem insurmountable to those with lesser resolve. Chapter 8. The Power of the Mastermind, Multiplying Mental Power. Napoleon Hill's most revolutionary discovery was the principle of the mastermind, which he defined as coordination of knowledge and effort in a spirit of harmony between two or more people for the attainment of a definite purpose. Hill understood that no individual, regardless of how intelligent or capable, could achieve great success entirely alone. No two minds ever come together without thereby creating a third, invisible, intangible force which may be likened to a third mind, he wrote. In Donald Trump's extraordinary achievements, we see this principle elevated to an art form. From the very beginning of his Manhattan ventures, Trump understood intuitively what Hill had discovered through scientific observation: that surrounding oneself with minds that complement and enhance one's own capabilities creates exponential increases in problem-solving ability and creative power. When Trump assembled his team for the Commodore Hotel project, he wasn't just hiring employees. He was creating a mastermind alliance that would combine diverse expertise into a unified force capable of achieving what no individual could accomplish alone. Trump's mastermind approach was sophisticated and strategic. He didn't just surround himself with yes-men who would validate his existing ideas. Instead, he sought out individuals whose knowledge and capabilities filled gaps in his own expertise. His mastermind alliances included architects who could translate his visions into buildable realities, financial experts who could structure deals in ways he hadn't imagined, political insiders who understood regulatory complexities, and marketing specialists who could communicate his vision to target audiences. Hill emphasized that mastermind alliances must be based on harmony and mutual benefit. Trump's approach to building these alliances reveals deep understanding of this principle. He never tried to dominate his mastermind partners or extract value without providing equivalent compensation. Instead, he created situations where each member of the alliance could achieve their own objectives while contributing to shared goals. The power of Trump's mastermind approach became evident in how quickly he could enter new industries and achieve exceptional results. When he decided to develop casinos, he didn't spend years learning the gaming business from scratch. Instead, he assembled a mastermind alliance of gaming industry veterans, casino operators, entertainment specialists, and hospitality experts. Their combined knowledge accelerated his learning curve and helped him avoid costly mistakes that typically plague newcomers to complex industries. Trump's mastermind philosophy extended beyond formal business relationships to include informal networks of advisors, mentors, and peers. Hill had discovered that mastermind alliances could be temporary and project-specific, or ongoing and relationship-based. Trump maintained both types throughout his career, creating a vast network of expertise he could tap whenever specific challenges or opportunities arose. The evolution of Trump's mastermind approach shows how this principle can be scaled and adapted to increasingly complex challenges. His early mastermind alliances focused primarily on real estate development challenges, but as his ambitions expanded to include entertainment, politics, and global branding, his mastermind networks expanded to include experts from dozens of industries and disciplines. One of the most fascinating aspects of Trump's mastermind strategy was his ability to attract high-caliber partners, despite being relatively unknown early in his career. Hill taught that mastermind alliances are based on mutual benefit, not charity. Trump created value for his mastermind partners by offering them opportunities to participate in projects larger and more ambitious than they could have undertaken independently. Trump's approach to mastermind alliances also demonstrates Hill's teaching about the importance of definite purpose in attracting the right collaborators. Because Trump's vision was always clear and compelling, he could attract partners who shared his ambition and were willing to commit their expertise to achieving shared objectives. His definiteness of purpose acted like a magnet, drawing capable people who wanted to be part of something significant. The power of Trump's mastermind approach became most evident during crisis situations. When his business empire faced challenges in the early 1990s, his response wasn't to isolate himself or try to solve problems alone. Instead, he expanded his mastermind alliances to include restructuring experts, crisis management specialists, and advisors who had successfully navigated similar challenges. Their combined wisdom and experience provided solutions that would have been impossible for any individual to devise. Hill understood that mastermind alliances could create what he called psychic energy, a form of mental power that emerges when harmonious minds work together toward common objectives. Trump's career provides numerous examples of this phenomenon. His most successful projects often involved teams that developed almost telepathic communication, where individual contributions merged into collective achievements that exceeded the sum of their parts. The ultimate test of Trump's mastermind philosophy came during his presidential campaign and subsequent presidency. Running for president required assembling mastermind alliances that could navigate political complexities completely outside his previous experience. His team had to include political strategists, policy experts, communication specialists, and organizational leaders who could translate business success principles into political victory. Trump's transition from candidate to president revealed another dimension of mastermind alliance building: the ability to scale collaborative relationships from small teams to vast organizations. Managing the federal government required mastermind capabilities that could coordinate thousands of experts across dozens of agencies toward common national objectives. Hill's mastermind principle reveals why some individuals achieve extraordinary success, while others with similar individual capabilities remain mediocre. Trump's career demonstrates that success isn't just about personal brilliance, it's about the ability to create and maintain collaborative relationships that multiply individual capabilities into collective power. His mastermind approach didn't diminish his own contributions. It amplified them through strategic partnerships that created value far beyond what any individual could achieve alone. The most remarkable aspect of Trump's mastermind philosophy was its evolution from tactical necessity to strategic worldview. What began as a practical approach to solving real estate development challenges became a comprehensive framework for approaching every significant undertaking. His understanding that no individual, regardless of capability, can achieve greatness alone, became the foundation for building organizations, movements, and ultimately political coalitions that could transform entire industries and institutions. Chapter 9. Overcoming Fear and Failure. The Crucible of Character. Napoleon Hill identified fear as the greatest enemy of achievement, writing, "Fear is nothing more than a state of mind which is subject to direction and control." Through his research, Hill discovered that successful people don't experience less fear than others. They develop superior methods for overcoming fear and transforming setbacks into stepping stones toward greater achievement. In Donald Trump's journey, we witness a masterclass in how to face fear directly, learn from failure constructively, and emerge from every setback stronger and more determined than before. Trump's relationship with fear and failure was forged early in his career, when he made the audacious decision to leave the relative safety of his father's Queens-based business to conquer Manhattan real estate. This wasn't a gradual transition. It was a bold leap into unknown territory, where the stakes were higher, the competition more sophisticated, and the potential for public failure more devastating. Hill taught that courage isn't the absence of fear, but action in spite of fear, and Trump's entire career embodies this principle. When Trump first approached established Manhattan real estate players, he was an outsider facing what Hill called the fear of criticism. Established developers viewed him with skepticism. Media questioned his qualifications. Financial institutions hesitated to back his ambitious projects. But instead of allowing these fears to paralyze him or reduce his ambitions, Trump used them as motivation to prove his capabilities beyond any reasonable doubt. Hill identified 6 basic fears that hold most people back: fear of poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age, and death. Trump's approach to each of these fears reveals sophisticated psychological strategies for maintaining forward momentum despite natural human anxieties. His fear of poverty drove him to create multiple income streams and build wealth in various industries. His fear of criticism led him to become a master of media manipulation who could turn negative attention into positive outcomes. The most revealing test of Trump's relationship with failure came during his financial difficulties in the early 1990s. When his casino empire faced bankruptcy, when his airline failed, when his marriage dissolved publicly, critics wrote his obituary as a business leader. Hill had taught that failure is never final unless we accept it as such, and that every setback contains within it the seed of equivalent benefit for those wise enough to find and cultivate it. Trump's response to this period of multiple failures demonstrates Hill's principle of learning from defeat. Instead of retreating or accepting diminished expectations, Trump analyzed each failure systematically to extract maximum learning value. His casino problems taught him about operational management in entertainment businesses. His airline failure provided insights into industries outside his core competency. His personal struggles revealed the importance of protecting private life from public scrutiny. Hill emphasized that temporary defeat often prepares people for success in ways that easy victory never could. Trump's comeback from his 1990s difficulties wasn't just a return to previous levels of success, it was an evolution to entirely new levels of achievement. The lessons learned from failure equipped him with knowledge, humility, and strategic thinking that made his subsequent successes more sustainable and more meaningful. The psychological aspect of Trump's approach to fear and failure reveals deep understanding of Hill's teachings about the subconscious mind. Instead of allowing failures to create limiting beliefs about his capabilities, Trump used them as evidence that he could survive and overcome challenges that would defeat lesser individuals. Each recovery from setback became proof of his resilience, creating a positive feedback loop that strengthened his confidence for future challenges. Trump's public handling of criticism demonstrates another Hill principle, that criticism often comes from those who lack the courage to attempt what they criticize. Instead of being defensive about criticism, Trump learned to evaluate it objectively, extracting any useful insights while dismissing attacks motivated by envy or fear. His thick skin wasn't natural. It was developed through systematic exposure to criticism, combined with unwavering focus on results rather than opinions. Hill taught that fear and worry are mental habits that can be replaced with more productive mental patterns. Trump's career shows how to implement this principle practically. When facing major decisions or significant challenges, his focus was always on solutions rather than problems, on opportunities rather than obstacles, on potential victories rather than possible defeats. This mental discipline didn't eliminate fear, it channeled fear into productive energy. The evolution of Trump's relationship with fear and failure culminated in his decision to run for President of the United States. This decision required overcoming massive fear of public rejection, political defeat, and damage to his business reputation. The potential for failure was enormous, and the criticism would be relentless. But Hill had taught that great achievements require great risks, and that those who play it safe never achieve anything significant. Trump's presidential campaign revealed another dimension of overcoming fear: the ability to maintain conviction despite expert predictions of failure. Political professionals, media analysts, and even many supporters believed his campaign was impossible. But Trump had spent decades developing immunity to others' limiting beliefs about what he could achieve. His experience with fear and failure had taught him that expert opinion, while valuable, should never override personal conviction backed by systematic action. Hill discovered that successful people use fear as an early warning system rather than a stop sign. Throughout his career, Trump demonstrated this principle repeatedly. Fear of competitive threats motivated him to differentiate his products more effectively. Fear of market changes drove him to diversify his business portfolio. Fear of irrelevance inspired him to continuously evolve his public persona and business focus. The most remarkable aspect of Trump's approach to fear and failure was his ability to transform these experiences into fuel for even greater ambitions. Each challenge overcome became evidence that larger challenges could be conquered. Each failure survived proved that recovery was always possible. Each fear faced directly reduced the power of future fears. Hill had taught that we become what we think about most, and Trump's consistent focus on comeback, recovery, and ultimate victory created a mindset that expected triumph despite temporary setbacks. Chapter 10. The Subconscious Mind and Wealth. Programming for Abundance. Napoleon Hill's most profound discovery was that the subconscious mind serves as the link between the finite human mind and infinite intelligence, and that it can be deliberately programmed to attract wealth and success. The subconscious mind will translate into reality a thought driven by faith, Hill wrote, just as readily as it will translate into reality a thought driven by fear. In Donald Trump's extraordinary wealth creation, we see the systematic application of subconscious programming principles that transformed a successful real estate developer into a global symbol of prosperity and abundance. Trump's relationship with wealth consciousness began long before he had significant money. Hill taught that the subconscious mind responds to thoughts charged with emotion and backed by faith, and Trump's early visualizations of success were extraordinarily vivid and emotionally compelling. He didn't just want to be successful, he saw himself as inevitably destined for unprecedented levels of achievement, and this vision was impressed so deeply into his subconscious mind that it became his psychological reality before it became his financial reality. Hill discovered that the subconscious mind works continuously, 24 hours a day, processing thoughts and translating them into their physical equivalent. Trump's conscious thoughts were consistently focused on expansion, growth, and increasing levels of success. Even during conversations, interviews, and casual interactions, his language patterns revealed someone whose subconscious mind was programmed for abundance rather than scarcity, for possibility rather than limitation, for victory rather than defeat. The power of Trump's wealth consciousness became evident in how he approached financial challenges. When his business empire faced serious difficulties in the early 1990s, His subconscious programming didn't allow him to accept permanent defeat or reduced circumstances. Hill had taught that the subconscious mind, when properly programmed, will automatically guide conscious thoughts and actions towards solutions that restore and exceed previous levels of achievement. Trump's approach to wealth creation reveals sophisticated understanding of what Hill called the mystery of transmutation of desire into its monetary equivalent. Trump didn't just want money. He understood that money was a means to creating lasting value, building monuments to human achievement, and establishing legacies that would endure for generations. His subconscious mind was programmed not just for personal wealth, but for wealth that would create value for thousands of employees, customers, and partners. Hill emphasized that the subconscious mind responds most effectively to written statements of purpose that are reviewed regularly and charged with emotion. While we don't have access to Trump's private journals, his public statements throughout his career reveal someone who consistently reinforced his wealth consciousness through declarative language. He didn't hope to build great buildings. He declared that he built the greatest buildings. He didn't aspire to make profitable deals. He proclaimed himself the master of profitable deal-making. The evolution of Trump's wealth consciousness shows how subconscious programming can be continuously upgraded to accommodate increasingly ambitious goals. His early programming focused on success in real estate development, but as his achievements expanded, his subconscious programming evolved to encompass global branding, entertainment industry success, and eventually political achievement. Each level of success became the foundation for programming even greater possibilities. Trump's approach to money itself demonstrates Hill's teaching about the proper mental attitude toward wealth. Trump never displayed the apologetic or guilt-ridden attitude toward success that limits many people's wealth-building capacity. His subconscious mind was programmed to expect prosperity as the natural result of providing value to others. He understood intuitively that wealth creation is a service to society, not an exploitation of it. Hill taught that the subconscious mind attracts opportunities, people, and circumstances that align with its dominant programming. Trump's career provides countless examples of this principle in action. Throughout his journey, he consistently encountered individuals who could help him achieve his goals, discovered opportunities that others overlooked, and found solutions to problems that seemed insurmountable. This wasn't coincidence. It was the subconscious mind operating according to its wealth-focused programming. The relationship between Trump's subconscious programming and his actual wealth creation became most evident during his recovery from financial difficulties. His comeback wasn't just about making money, it was about proving that his fundamental beliefs about wealth creation were correct. His subconscious mind had been programmed to expect abundance, and temporary setbacks only intensified his determination to restore the reality that matched his internal programming. Trump's understanding of wealth psychology extended to his ability to help others visualize prosperity and success. His developments didn't just provide housing or office space, they sold dreams of luxurious living and prestigious business addresses. His marketing was successful because it activated the wealth consciousness of his customers, helping them see themselves as the kind of people who deserved and could afford premium experiences. Hill discovered that subconscious programming is most effective when it's reinforced through multiple sensory channels. Trump's approach to wealth consciousness incorporated visual elements, the gold fixtures and elegant designs of his properties, auditory elements, his consistent verbal affirmations of success, and kinesthetic elements, surrounding himself with physical symbols of achievement. His entire environment was designed to reinforce his subconscious programming for abundance. The most remarkable aspect of Trump's subconscious wealth programming was its scalability. The same mental patterns that created success in real estate were successfully applied to casinos, entertainment, branding, and eventually politics. His subconscious mind wasn't programmed for success in a specific industry. It was programmed for success as a way of being, a fundamental approach to life that could be applied to any challenge or opportunity. Trump's presidential campaign revealed another dimension of wealth consciousness, the understanding that true wealth includes influence, impact, and the ability to create positive change on a massive scale. His subconscious programming had evolved to encompass not just personal prosperity, but the capacity to generate prosperity for entire communities, industries, and ultimately nations. Hill's research proved that the subconscious mind, when properly programmed, becomes a magnet that attracts whatever it has been instructed to seek. Trump's extraordinary wealth creation demonstrates this principle operating at the highest levels. His subconscious mind wasn't just programmed for survival or comfort, it was programmed for abundance, excellence, and achievement that would inspire others to expand their own beliefs about what's possible in their lives. Chapter 11. Legacy and Philosophy of Life. Building Beyond Money. Napoleon Hill's ultimate discovery was that true success extends far beyond personal wealth to encompass the creation of lasting value that serves others and survives the creator. "The man who does more than he is paid for will soon be paid for more than he does," Hill wrote, revealing that the highest levels of achievement come to those who focus on contribution rather than accumulation. In Donald Trump's approach to legacy building, we see how the principles of success, when properly applied, create value that transcends individual achievement to influence entire industries and generations. Trump's philosophy of legacy became evident early in his career when he chose to put his name on his buildings. This wasn't merely ego, it was a commitment to quality and excellence that would be permanently associated with his reputation. Hill taught that lasting success requires staking one's name and reputation on the quality of one's work. And Trump understood that every project would either enhance or diminish the value of his personal brand for decades to come. The evolution of Trump's legacy thinking reveals sophisticated understanding of how individual achievement can create ripple effects that benefit countless others. Trump Tower wasn't just a successful real estate project, it became a catalyst for the revitalization of Fifth Avenue and a symbol of New York's recovery from economic difficulties. His success created opportunities for contractors, suppliers, employees, and neighboring businesses, demonstrating Hill's principle that genuine success elevates everyone it touches. Hill emphasized that a meaningful philosophy of life must be based on service to others rather than purely selfish motives. Trump's approach to business consistently created value for multiple stakeholders simultaneously. His developments provided high-quality housing and office space for residents and tenants, created jobs for thousands of construction workers and permanent employees, generated tax revenue for municipal governments, and established new standards of excellence that elevated entire industries. Trump's understanding of legacy extended to his approach to setbacks and failures. Hill taught that temporary defeat often contains within it the seeds of equivalent benefit, and that how one responds to challenges becomes part of their lasting influence on others. Trump's recovery from his 1990s financial difficulties became an inspiration to entrepreneurs and business leaders facing their own challenges, proving that comeback is always possible for those who refuse to accept defeat as permanent. The global expansion of the Trump brand reveals another dimension of legacy thinking, the understanding that principles and standards of excellence can be exported to benefit people in different cultures and contexts. Trump's international developments weren't just business ventures. They were opportunities to share American standards of luxury, service, and achievement with communities around the world. Hill discovered that lasting success requires developing a philosophy of life that can guide decisions during both prosperous and challenging times. Trump's consistency of principles throughout his career, his commitment to excellence, his insistence on quality, his refusal to accept mediocrity, created a predictable standard that partners, employees, and customers could rely on regardless of external circumstances. Trump's approach to mentoring and developing others demonstrates Hill's teaching about the multiplication of success through influence. Throughout his career, Trump has been associated with individuals who went on to achieve significant success in their own right. His television show The Apprentice became a platform for demonstrating business principles to millions of viewers, extending his influence far beyond his direct business activities. The political dimension of Trump's legacy reveals how business success principles can be applied to public service and national leadership. His decision to run for president wasn't motivated by personal enrichment. It was driven by a desire to apply the same principles that created his business success to the challenge of national renewal and improvement. Hill taught that true leaders create more leaders rather than more followers. Trump's impact on American business culture, popular culture, and political discourse has inspired countless individuals to think bigger, act bolder, and refuse to accept limitations imposed by others. His influence extends far beyond those who agree with his specific methods or positions, to include anyone who has been inspired to pursue ambitious goals despite criticism or skepticism from others. Trump's philosophy of life encompasses what Hill called going the extra mile, consistently delivering more value than required and maintaining higher standards than necessary. This approach created customer loyalty, employee dedication, and industry respect that became invaluable assets throughout his career. His reputation for quality and excellence became a competitive advantage that opened doors and created opportunities that wouldn't have existed otherwise. The most significant aspect of Trump's legacy may be his demonstration that the American dream remains accessible to those willing to apply proven success principles with sufficient persistence and creativity. His journey from Queens real estate to global recognition to the presidency proves that in America, individual achievement is limited only by individual imagination, determination, and willingness to serve others through personal excellence. Hill's research revealed that the highest levels of human achievement come to those who align their personal success with principles that benefit society as a whole. Trump's legacy encompasses job creation, urban revitalization, entertainment innovation, and political leadership that has influenced millions of people around the world. His success has created opportunities for others, established new standards of excellence, and proven that individual achievement and social contribution can be simultaneously pursued and mutually reinforcing. Trump's approach to legacy building also demonstrates Hill's teaching about the importance of definite purpose that extends beyond personal gratification. His vision has consistently involved creating value that would outlast his own involvement, building institutions and establishing standards that would continue generating benefit for others long after his direct participation ended. Conclusion: the timeless secret revealed. As we reach the end of this extraordinary journey through the mind of a man who transformed impossible dreams into concrete realities, we must ask ourselves the most important question of all. What is the true secret that Napoleon Hill discovered and Donald Trump applied? The answer is both simple and profound, both accessible to everyone and achieved by very few. The secret is not in Donald Trump himself, though his application of Hill's principles provides us with a powerful case study in success consciousness. The secret is not in Napoleon Hill's writings, though his research unlocked the mental codes that govern human achievement. The true secret lies in the decision, the definite, unwavering decision, to apply these timeless principles in your own life, starting today, starting now, starting with whatever circumstances currently surround you. Throughout this narrative, we have witnessed how burning desire transforms ordinary individuals into unstoppable forces of achievement. We have seen how faith and self-confidence create fields of possibility that others can feel and respond to. We have observed how autosuggestion programs the subconscious mind for inevitable success. We have learned how specialized knowledge becomes the currency of power in any field. We have explored how creative imagination envisions possibilities that don't yet exist. We have studied how organized planning creates roadmaps from vision to reality. We have understood how quick decisions and persistence overcome obstacles that defeat others. We have discovered how mastermind alliances multiply individual capabilities into collective power. We have examined how fear and failure become stepping stones rather than stumbling blocks. We have revealed how subconscious programming attracts wealth and abundance. We have contemplated how legacy thinking creates value that transcends individual achievement. But here is the most important truth of all. These principles work for anyone willing to apply them with sufficient consistency, intensity, and faith. They worked for Napoleon Hill's original subjects, Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison. They worked for Donald Trump as he built his empire and achieved his dreams. And they will work for you regardless of your current circumstances, your educational background, your family connections, or your previous level of success or failure. The principles are democratic. They respond to application, not to privilege. They are scientific. They produce predictable results when properly implemented. They are timeless. They worked a century ago, they work today, and they will continue working as long as human beings possess minds capable of thought and hearts capable of desire. The choice is yours. You can continue living as you have been living, accepting the limitations that others have imposed on your thinking, settling for circumstances that fall short of your dreams. Or you can make the decision that transforms everything, the decision to think and grow rich, to apply these proven principles in your own life, to become a living example of what's possible when human potential meets systematic action. Your burning desire is waiting to be ignited. Your faith is waiting to be activated. Your imagination is waiting to be unleashed. Your specialized knowledge is waiting to be acquired. Your plans are waiting to be organized. Your decisions are waiting to be made. Your mastermind alliances are waiting to be formed. Your subconscious mind is waiting to be programmed for abundance. Your legacy is waiting to be built. The secret of Donald Trump's millionaire mind, according to Napoleon Hill, is now your secret. The question is not whether these principles work, they do. The question is not whether you deserve success, you do. The only question that matters is whether you will apply these principles with the same intensity, persistence, and unwavering faith that has created every great fortune, built every great enterprise, and achieved every great dream in human history. If this message has stirred something deep within you, if you feel the flame of possibility beginning to burn brighter in your heart, then subscribe to this channel right now and ring that notification bell. Leave a comment below sharing which principle impacted you most powerfully. Was it the power of burning desire, the magic of faith, the science of autosuggestion, or perhaps the multiplication effect of mastermind alliances? Share this video with someone you know who needs to awaken their own millionaire mind, someone whose potential is waiting to be unleashed, someone whose dreams deserve to become realities. Remember, the principles you've learned today are not just information. They are transformation tools waiting to be used. Your millionaire mind is not something you need to develop. It's something you need to uncover. It's already there, waiting beneath layers of limitation, doubt, and accepted mediocrity. Today can be the day you decide to think differently, act boldly, and join the ranks of those who refuse to accept anything less than the extraordinary. The secret is yours. The choice is yours. The time is now.